Welcome to the Chronicles of Lost Relations. We're so grateful to have you here. Your support means everything to us. If today's story resonated with you, or if you have any thoughts or feedback, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories that will move, inspire, and connect us all. Thank you for being part of our journey. Jackson emerged from his truck, the sound of his steel-toed boots crunching on the gravel driveway resonating in the air. The setting sun created elongated shadows over the neatly kept lawns of his suburban Charlotte neighborhood. He paused, absorbing the view of his two-story colonial home, the immaculate white siding, the carefully trimmed hedges, the American flag dancing softly from the porch. It appeared to embody the essence of domestic peace, yet an unsettling feeling lingered. He couldn't exactly identify the cause, yet the unsettling sensation in his stomach had been intensifying for weeks. As he neared the front door, he caught the sound of muffled laughter emanating from within, his wife Livia's melodic voice blending with the high-pitched giggle of their 7-year-old daughter Lilith. Griffin inhaled deeply, straightening his shoulders as he prepared to open the door. "I'm home!" he called out, his deep voice resonating through the foyer. "Father!" Lilith rushed down the hallway, her pigtails swaying as she leaped into his embrace. Griffin caught her effortlessly, a sincere smile emerging from his otherwise serious expression. "Greetings, my dear," he said, gently kissing her forehead. "How did school go today?" As Lilith began to share an engaging tale about her day, Griffin's gaze wandered to Livia, who had just entered the kitchen doorway. She rested against the frame, a dish towel casually draped over her shoulder, her dark hair gathered in a tousled bun. He found her beautiful, a realization he had encountered before, yet there was something in her eyes, a flicker of what? Regret? Concern? "Welcome home, honey," Livia said, her voice warm, though her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Dinner is nearly prepared. Perhaps you should freshen up a bit?" Griffin nodded and gently placed Lilith on the ground. "That sounds great. I'll be there shortly." As he ascended the stairs to their bedroom, an unsettling sensation lingered in his mind, suggesting that something was not quite right. Livia had been behaving unusually in recent times, remaining at work longer, frequently checking her phone, and showing increased concern for her appearance. It wasn't anything obvious, but to Griffin, who took great pride in his keen observation skills, the subtle alteration stood out prominently. In the bathroom, Griffin splashed cold water on his face, gazing at his reflection in the mirror. The man gazing back at him was tough, featuring a solid jaw and striking blue eyes that had witnessed their share of struggles. His father, a lifelong military professional, had imparted to him a strong sense of discipline and responsibility that had greatly benefited him in his role as a construction project manager. However, at this moment, those very instincts were suggesting to him that his seemingly flawless life could be less than ideal. The dinner was a serene event, with Lilith taking the lead in conversation. Griffin observed Livia intently, noticing her distraction as her eyes flickered to her phone every few minutes. "How did work go today?" Griffin inquired, his demeanor relaxed, yet his gaze intense. Livia jidanted up, taken aback. It was fine. Quite busy, you know. A new patient arrived with a complex case, and I may need to stay late tomorrow to complete the paperwork." Griffin nodded thoughtfully, storing the information for future reference. "Got it. Did anything else noteworthy occur?" For a brief instant, he believed he detected a glimmer of panic in Livia's eyes, but it vanished so swiftly that he couldn't be certain. "No, nothing much," she replied, redirecting her focus to her plate. Later that night, after Lilith had been tucked in, Griffin sat in his home office, reviewing the blueprints for his latest project. He noticed Livia's footsteps in the hallway and jidanted up to find her standing in the doorway. "I'm heading to bed," she said gently. "Please don't stay up too late. All right?" Griffin nodded, offering her a small smile. "I won't sleep well." As Livia prepared to depart, her phone vibrated audibly in her pocket. She swiftly muted it, yet not before Griffin noticed the fleeting look of panic on her face. "Is everything all right?" he inquired about his voice level. "Indeed, just some work-related matters," Livia replied swiftly. "Sweet dreams, my love." As she rushed off, Griffin sensed his doubts crystallize into a chilling, firm acknowledgement deep within him. Something was certainly amiss, and he was resolute in his quest to uncover the truth. The following days unfolded in a haze of contrived normalcy. Griffin went to work, managing his construction projects with his characteristic precision, yet his thoughts frequently drifted back home, where the unsettling realization of his troubled marriage loomed over him. On a Tuesday afternoon, everything shifted. Griffin finished a meeting ahead of schedule and chose to go home, aiming to surprise Livia and perhaps treat her to an unexpected lunch date. Upon arriving in the driveway, he observed that her car was absent. It was peculiar, he mused, that she ought to be back home during this time between her appointments. He entered the serene house, calling out, "Livia, are you at home?" He was met with silence. Upon entering the kitchen, he detected a subtle buzzing noise. Livia's phone rested on the counter, its screen illuminating with incoming messages. Griffin paused briefly, his beliefs clashing with an increasing sense of doubt. At last, he could no longer hold back and stole a look at the screen. His heart plummeted as he read the name Dante. The message preview seemed harmless enough, "Can't wait to see you later," but it was sufficient to validate his deepest anxieties. Griffin's thoughts surged with intensity. Dante. The name rang a bell. Did Livia bring up a Dante at some point, years back? Perhaps an old college acquaintance? She never mentioned him again, and Griffin had completely forgotten about him. Up to this point, he lifted the phone, his thumb poised above the screen. With a single swipe, he could access all the messages and gain absolute clarity on the situation. Yet, did he truly desire to find out? Just as he was about to reach a conclusion, the sound of a car entering the driveway caught his attention. He promptly placed the phone back in its original position and occupied himself at the sink. Livia entered shortly after, her expression revealing her astonishment. "Griffin, why are you back home?" He turned, managing a smile. "The meeting concluded ahead of schedule. I had the idea to surprise you and perhaps take you out for lunch." "Oh," Livia remarked, her gaze flickering to her phone resting on the counter. "That's nice, but I just had a meal with a colleague. This afternoon, there's a considerable amount of paperwork to attend to." Griffin nodded, observing her intently. "Absolutely fine. Perhaps at a later date." As Livia stepped away to change, a chill of resolve enveloped Griffin. He decided against confronting her. Not at this time. Initially, he required evidence. In the days that followed, Griffin transformed into a man driven by purpose. He contacted Livia's clinic, nonchalantly asking about her schedule while pretending to plan a surprise. His doubts were validated when he discovered she had not been present at work during many of the times she had asserted she was in the office. He contemplated the option of hiring a private investigator, but soon set the thought aside. This held personal significance. He would take care of it on his own. Late one night, after Livia had retired for the evening, Griffin remained in his office, gazing at the screen of his laptop. He had never thought of himself as particularly skilled with technology, but in a moment of desperation, he found himself delving into the world of phone tracking software. With just a few clicks, he would have access to all of Livia's texts, calls, and location data. His finger lingered just above the install button. Was he truly going to go through with this, infringe upon his wife's privacy, so completely? The recollection of Livia's faraway gazes, her enigmatic phone behaviors, and the message from Dante surged through his thoughts. Indeed, he made his decision. He was, indeed. The following morning, Griffin bid Livia farewell with a kiss as she departed for work, the burden of his secret pressing down on him. He spent the day preoccupied, struggling to concentrate on his tasks. Every few minutes, he caught himself glancing at his phone, anticipating the tracking software to provide updates. The late afternoon sun cast a warm glow as his phone buzzed with an alert. With his hands trembling slightly, Griffin opened the app. What he witnessed sent a chill down his spine. There, in stark contrast, were numerous text messages exchanged between Livia and Dante. Playful initially, then direct. Images shared that clearly indicated the essence of their connection. A location pin was placed at a hotel situated across town. Griffin experienced a sensation akin to being struck in the abdomen. He had his suspicions, certainly, but witnessing the evidence presented so clearly was an entirely different experience. His Livia, his wife of a decade, the mother of his child, was involved in an affair. He remained seated, gazing at his phone, while the minutes slowly passed. A part of him felt an overwhelming urge to hurry to the hotel, to face them both and release the anger that was swelling within him. Yet another aspect, influenced by years of military discipline inherited from his father, advised patience. The finest form of retribution is deliberate and strategic. His father's voice resonated in his mind. Griffin inhaled deeply, then one more. He would refrain from acting impulsively. He would collect additional evidence and meticulously document every detail. When the moment arrived, he would ensure that Livia faced the repercussions of her treachery. While driving home that evening, he was already crafting a strategy in his mind. He would refrain from confronting Livia right away. No, he would observe and bide his time. Collecting resources for the moment, he would act. In the weeks that followed, Griffin found himself engaged in a profound exercise of self-discipline. He navigated the routine of everyday life, attending work, sharing meals with his family, assisting Lilith with her homework, all while bearing the heavy burden of his awareness. Livia, unaware that her secret had been revealed, became increasingly audacious. She lingered out longer, crafted feebler excuses, and devoted more time to her phone. Every lie, every furtive smile at a text, every late night spent at the office stoked Griffin's simmering anger. He recorded every detail with great care. Images of text conversations, records of phone calls, and invoices from the hotel where she encountered Dante. One night, he drove past the hotel, his heart racing as he captured images of Livia and Dante arriving together and then departing hours later. Throughout everything, Griffin kept his calm demeanor. He was friendly towards Livia, though somewhat aloof. He concentrated on Lilith, valuing the moments spent with his daughter while grappling with the implications for her future. One evening, while he was in his office examining the incriminating evidence he had gathered, Griffin heard a gentle knock at the door. He swiftly closed the windows on his computer as Lilith danted in. "Dad, could you please tuck me in?" She gazed up at him with her large brown eyes, reminiscent of Livia's, filled with hope. Griffin sensed a tightness in his throat. "Certainly, Princess," he replied, rising from his desk. "Let us proceed." As he tucked the blankets around Lilith and kissed her goodnight, Griffin experienced a revitalized sense of purpose. He was determined to see this through, not only for himself, but also for Lilith. She deserved more than a mother who could so easily betray her family. Upon returning to his office, Griffin gazed at the evidence meticulously arranged before him. He was nearly prepared. Soon, he would face Livia with the truth. And when he did, he would ensure she comprehended precisely what she was forfeiting. As he shut his laptop and got ready for bed, Griffin experienced an unusual sense of tranquility wash over him. The anguish and treachery lingered, smoldering just below the surface. Yet a somber resolve loomed over them. Livia had made her decision, and now she would confront the repercussions. He made his decision for tomorrow. Tomorrow he would put an end to this pretense once and for all. Griffin awoke early the following morning, his thoughts already swirling with anticipation for the impending confrontation. He followed his typical routine: shower, shave, dress, all the while mentally preparing what he would say to Livia. Upon entering the kitchen, he discovered her at the counter, pouring coffee. "Morning," he said, his voice deliberately even. Livia turned, presenting a smile that fell short of reaching her eyes. "Good morning. Please, a coffee." As she handed him a mug, their fingers brushed, and Griffin experienced a wave of anger. How could she remain there, appearing so composed when she had been deceiving him for weeks? He inquired about today's plans while sipping his coffee. Livia nodded, avoiding his gaze. "Simply focus on your tasks. It could be another late night." "Is that so?" Griffin's tone cut through the air, prompting Livia to gee Dante up in astonishment. "Another evening spent at the office?" "Indeed," Livia hesitated. "We have many new patients coming in. Please save it, Livia." Griffin interrupted her. "I understand that you won't be in the office." Livia's complexion drained of color. "What do you mean?" Griffin placed his mug down with a thud, causing coffee to spill over the rim. "I am referring to Dante. I am fully aware of everything, Livia. The messages, the images, the hotel gatherings." "Everything!" Livia's eyes grew wide with astonishment. "Griffin and I am able to provide an explanation." "Could you clarify what you mean?" Griffin's voice carried a low, menacing quality. "Can you clarify why you've been dishonest with me for weeks? Why have you been deceiving me and undermining our marriage in secret? Our family." Tears filled Livia's eyes. "It isn't. It's not as you might assume. Dante and I simply do not," Griffin growled, "do not attempt to deceive your way out of this situation. I have observed the evidence, Livia. I understand precisely who you and Dante are." Livia settled into a chair, her face cradled in her hands. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I sincerely apologize, Griffin. This was never my intention." Griffin let out a laugh that was sharp and filled with bitterness. "I never intended for it to occur." "What is it? Did you accidentally end up in bed with him?" "No, of course not," Livia said, gazing up at him with a look of desperation. "Things have been off between us for some time now, Griffin. We have drifted apart. Dante truly comprehends me, and he comprehends you as well." Griffin's voice carried a sense of disbelief. "And I do not?" After a decade of marriage, after creating a life together and raising our daughter, Livia shook her head, tears flowing down her cheeks. "It's not as straightforward as that. You consistently prioritize your work and strive for perfection. At times, it seems as though you no longer notice my presence." Griffin struck the counter with his fist, causing Livia to flinch. "Do not even think about placing the blame on me. A decision was made, Livia. You decided to turn your back on all that we've created together." He averted his gaze, raking his fingers through his hair. As he spoke once more, his voice softened, yet retained its intensity. "Please, leave this house. This evening." "What is it?" Livia inhaled sharply. "Griffin, I assure you we can resolve this together. We can attend counseling this weekend. There is no need for any further discussion." Griffin interrupted her. "Your decision has been made. You must now face the repercussions of your actions." Livia stood, extending her hand to brush against his arm. "What is your opinion on Lilith?" Griffin abruptly pulled away from her touch. "Do not even think about using our daughter as leverage. You ought to have considered Lilith before making the choice to abandon our family." At that moment, they detected the sound of tiny footsteps ascending the stairs. Lilith stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with fear. "Mother? Father? Why are you raising your voice?" Griffin inhaled deeply, steadying his voice. "It's all right, dear. Mommy and Daddy are simply engaged in a conversation meant for adults. Please head back upstairs and prepare for school." Lilith paused, glancing back and forth between her parents. Livia quickly dried her tears, donning a courageous expression. "It's okay, darling. Proceed upwards. I will arrive shortly to assist you with your hair." As Lilith ascended the stairs, Griffin faced Livia once more, his tone chilling and subdued. "Please ensure that your belongings are packed and that you have left by the time I return home from work. Your destination is of no concern to me, but remaining here is not an option." "Griffin, if you would be so kind," Livia pleaded, "could we discuss this matter?" "We're done talking," Griffin said as he reached for his keys. "I will return this evening, depart by that time." With that, he left the house in a fury, leaving Livia in tears at the kitchen table. The day flew by for Griffin. He performed his tasks at work, his thoughts persistently circling back to the confrontation from the morning. As he arrived at his driveway that evening, he felt a deep sense of emotional fatigue. Upon his entry, the house was enveloped in silence. For a brief instant, he believed Livia had truly departed, as he had insisted. Suddenly, he detected a sound coming from upstairs. "Livia!" he called out, his voice resonating through the quiet house. A moment of silence ensued, then Livia emerged at the top of the stairs. Her eyes appeared swollen and tinged with redness. Her hair was tousled. "Griffin," she said, her voice strained. "It's important that we have a conversation." Griffin let out a sigh, rubbing his hand across his face. "I believed I had communicated my point clearly this morning. It is necessary for you to depart." Livia made her way down the stairs with a deliberate slowness, each step taken with caution. "I understand, but I can't simply leave. This isn't the right way. We have a responsibility to one another, to Lilith, to make an effort to resolve our issues." Griffin sensed his anger beginning to swell once more. "Resolve issues? Following your actions?" "I made a mistake," Livia implored, "an egregious and inexcusable error. However, our marriage and our family must be something we are willing to fight for." For a brief instant, Griffin hesitated. The sorrow and remorse reflected in Livia's eyes appeared authentic. Yet he recalled the messages, the images, the deceit. His determination solidified. He responded with conviction, "No. That decision is not yours to make at this moment. Your decision to cheat was a choice you made." Livia's expression twisted in distress. "Griffin, if you would be so kind. I am willing to do whatever it takes. We could consider attending counseling together. I will sever all connections with Dante. Anything you desire. Just please don't discard a decade of marriage." Griffin let out a harsh laugh. "I didn't throw it away, Livia. You accomplished that entirely by yourself." At that moment, the sound of a car arriving outside caught their attention. Through the window, Griffin observed a man exiting Dante. He felt a surge of anger at the sight. "You reached out to him," Griffin snarled, pivoting to face Livia. Livia's eyes grew wide with alarm. "No, I promise, Griffin, I truly didn't. I'm uncertain about his presence here." Just as Griffin was about to reply, a knock echoed from the door. He approached with purpose and pulled it open, finding himself directly in front of Dante. Dante stepped back, astonishment clear on his face. "Oh. Hello? Is Livia present?" Griffin's fist struck Dante's jaw before he even registered the action of throwing the punch. Dante tripped and fell back, landing on the porch. "Griffin!" Livia shouted, hurrying to the door. Griffin disregarded her, towering over Dante. "You've certainly got some audacity to appear here," he growled. Dante quickly got to his feet, raising his hands in a defensive manner. "I apologize, my friend. I never intended for any of this to occur." "I didn't intend for that to occur." Griffin's voice was ominously subdued. "You didn't intend to have an affair with my wife? To assist her in deceiving me and maneuvering covertly?" Dante looked over at Livia, who was observing the situation with a sense of dread. "Livia, I believed you were going to inform him. I assumed that was the reason you invited me here. Livia insisted that she didn't call you." "Dante, it's time for you to go. At this moment!" Griffin moved nearer to Dante, his voice deep and threatening. "You listen to her. Depart. Should you ever come near my family again, I assure you that the consequences will be far more severe than a bruised jaw." Dante nodded swiftly, retreating. "I am going. I apologize, truly. It will not occur again." As Dante drove off, Griffin faced Livia once more. The frustration and sense of betrayal that had consumed him throughout the day solidified into a steely determination. "Pack your bags," he said, his voice flat and unfeeling. "You are departing this evening. Your destination is of no concern to me, but remaining here is not an option." "Griffin, please," Livia implored. "What is the situation with Lilith? We cannot simply—" "I will provide an explanation to Lilith." Griffin interrupted her. "You no longer have the authority to make decisions regarding our family." With tears streaming down her face, Livia nodded slowly. May I at least bid her farewell?" Griffin paused for a moment, then gave a brief nod. "Please expedite the process. And do not even think about attempting to sway her opinion of me." As Livia ascended the stairs to Lilith's room, Griffin collapsed onto the couch, his head buried in his hands. How had his life unraveled so thoroughly in such a short span of time? He could hear muted voices from upstairs, Livia's gentle sobs, Lilith's bewildered inquiries. He felt a deep sorrow for his daughter, fully aware of the hurt and uncertainty she was likely experiencing. After what felt like a long wait, Livia returned downstairs, carrying a suitcase. Her eyes were inflamed and puffy, her cheeks marked by tears. I'm going to stay with my sister for a while," she said gently. "May I call to inquire about Lilith?" Griffin nodded with a certain rigidity. "You may call once a day, but if you attempt to manipulate her or turn her against me, that privilege will be revoked. Got it?" Livia gave a nod, extending her hand toward the door. She halted, glancing back at Griffin for one final moment. "I sincerely apologize, Griffin. I understand that it may not alter the situation, but I am." Griffin remained silent, observing with an unyielding expression as Livia exited the room. As it shut behind her, he experienced a blend of relief and deep sorrow enveloping him. He ascended the stairs at a deliberate pace, stopping just outside Lilith's room. He could hear her quietly sobbing within. With a deep breath, he knocked softly. "Lilith, may I enter, princess?" "All right," came the quiet, sorrowful response. Griffin stepped inside, his heart aching at the image of his daughter nestled on her bed, holding her beloved stuffed animal tightly. He settled next to her, softly caressing her hair. "Father?" Lilith's voice came out softly, barely audible as she spoke into her stuffed toy. "Why did Mom leave? Will she return?" Griffin took a deep breath, searching for the appropriate words. "Mommy made a few errors, dear. She should take some time away to reflect on those mistakes." Lilith gazed up at him, her eyes filled with tears and a sense of wonder. "But she will return, won't she? We will reunite as a family once more." Griffin sensed tears welling up in his eyes. "I'm not certain, Princess. I assure you, regardless of what occurs, I will always be by your side." "Okay," Lilith nodded, pressing her face into Griffin's chest as he embraced her warmly. Griffin's resolve deepened as he embraced his daughter. He would persevere for Lilith's sake. He would ensure that Mira faced the consequences for the suffering she had inflicted on their family. In the subsequent days, Griffin immersed himself in his work and in looking after Lilith. He employed a nanny to assist with childcare, lacking confidence in Mira's ability to be alone with their daughter. He sought the advice of a lawyer, initiating the steps to file for divorce and pursue full custody. Mira made daily calls to converse with Lilith. However, her efforts to engage Griffin were met with a chilling silence. He declined to participate, channeling all correspondence through their attorneys. One evening, roughly a week after Mira's departure, Griffin received a call from an unfamiliar number. Despite his reservations, he chose to respond. "Greetings?" "Griffin." It was the voice of Dante. "Kindly please stay on the line. I would like to have a conversation with you." Griffin's hold on the phone grew more intense. "It takes quite a bit of audacity for you to reach out to me. What could you possibly want to express?" Dante's voice trembled. "Hello. I wish to express my apologies. Mira and I engaged in an activity together. It was incorrect. I should have never—" "Save it," Griffin interrupted. "Your apology holds no significance for me. Your actions led to the downfall of my family. That is irreversible." A moment of silence ensued. Then Dante spoke once more, his voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "I understand, and I am covering the cost for it. My wife discovered the truth. She is departing from my life. Bringing the children along, I have lost everything." For a brief instant, Griffin experienced a twisted sense of fulfillment. He then pushed it aside, his voice icy. "That doesn't concern me. Your decisions have been made. Now face the repercussions. Please refrain from calling me again." He ended the call, flinging the phone away. As he sat in the stillness of the house, Lilith was peacefully asleep upstairs. Griffin experienced the overwhelming burden of all that had transpired pressing down on him. His ideal life had been broken apart. His trust was shattered. As he contemplated Lilith and the life he was determined to create for her, a fresh sense of resolve surged within him. Mira had made her decision. Now it was time for Griffin to create his. He would reconstruct with greater strength than ever, and he would ensure that Mira fully grasped what she had discarded. Weeks had gone by since Livia's departure, and Griffin was adapting to his new reality with unwavering determination. He sat at the kitchen table, going over divorce papers with his lawyer, Jessica. "Are we advocating for full custody?" Griffin inquired, his voice steady. Jessica nodded, her expression solemn. "Indeed, considering Livia's infidelity and her present living conditions, we possess a compelling case." Griffin's jaw clenched. "Well done. What are the details regarding visitation?" Jessica replied that we are proposing only supervised visits, at least for the time being. Considering Livia's unpredictable behavior, we feel it is in Lilith's best interest. Just then, Griffin's phone buzzed. Livia's name appeared on the screen. He chose not to call, redirecting his attention to Jessica. He explained that she's been calling more often recently, his tone icy, requesting to meet with Lilith to discuss matters. Jessica's gaze sharpened. "Exercise caution, Griffin. She could be attempting to influence the circumstances. Please adhere to the communication channels we have established." Griffin nodded with conviction. "There's no need for concern. I refuse to allow her to control me once more." Just as he was about to continue, a knock echoed from the door. With a frown, he politely excused himself and went to respond to it. His expression grew stern as he noticed Livia on the porch, appearing disheveled and desperate. "Livia? What brings you here?" he inquired, his tone chilling. Livia's eyes were rimmed with red, her hair disheveled. "Griffin, if you would be so kind. I would like to have a conversation with you. I have been attempting to reach you by phone. As I mentioned, all correspondence must be directed through our legal representatives." Griffin interrupted her. I understand, Livia replied hastily. "However, I kindly ask for just 5 minutes of your time." "Indeed, I believe I am beginning to recall certain memories concerning the incident." Griffin's eyebrows arched in surprise. "Which accident are you referring to?" Livia appeared perplexed. "The automobile collision. The night you brought up the matter concerning Dante. I recall departing from the house. However, following that, everything becomes unclear." Griffin looked at her, his face reflecting both disbelief and disdain. "Livia, there was no mishap. That night, you departed from the house and chose to stay with your sister. That occurred several weeks back." Livia shook her head vigorously. "That's incorrect. I recall the bright headlights and the deafening crash, and then silence." Griffin experienced a brief moment of discomfort, yet swiftly pushed it aside. "Livia, I believe you could benefit from some assistance. Expert assistance. No accident occurred. This is merely another one of your falsehoods." Livia's eyes filled with tears. "Griffin, if you would be so kind, I find myself in a state of confusion. My thoughts are all jumbled and chaotic. Isn't it possible for us to have a conversation? If we could sit down together, perhaps I could clarify everything that's been going on." Griffin's expression stayed stern. "Unfortunately, Livia, that's not possible. Your decisions have been made. Now you must face the repercussions of your actions." Just as Livia was about to reply, Jessica emerged from behind Griffin. "Mr. Maddox, is everything okay?" she inquired, regarding Livia with a hint of skepticism. Livia's eyes grew large. "Who is that? Who is Griffin?" "This is my lawyer, Jessica," Griffin stated in a detached manner. "Livia, it's time for you to go. This conversation isn't possible at the moment. Your attorney." Livia's voice escalated in a frantic manner. "Have you already begun discussions with lawyers? Griffin, I kindly ask you to reconsider this decision. We can resolve this together." Jessica stepped forward, her voice resolute. "Mrs. Maddox, I must request that you exit the premises. All communication must be conducted through the appropriate legal channels." Livia gazed at Griffin with a sense of urgency. "Is this truly what you desire? Is this really how we are going to conclude our marriage?" Griffin's eyes burned with fury. "Your decision to cheat is what ended our marriage, Livia. Please, leave now." As Livia turned to leave, stumbling slightly, Griffin experienced a flicker of worry. He swiftly set it aside, shutting the door with determination. Jessica faced him, her demeanor earnest. "Griffin, it is essential that we record this incident. Her unpredictable actions might benefit us in custody hearings." Griffin nodded, his determination growing stronger. "I agree with you. We should ensure that we have all necessary measures in place to safeguard Lilith." As the days went by, Griffin immersed himself in his work, attempting to distract himself from thoughts of Livia and the looming divorce. While overseeing a new project at a construction site, his phone rang. An unfamiliar number appeared. "Hello," he replied with caution. "Are you Jackson?" a voice belonging to a woman inquired. "Yes. May I ask who is calling?" "This is Nurse Patel, reaching out from Charlotte General Hospital. I am reaching out regarding your wife, Livia Maddox." Griffin's heart pounded, yet he maintained a calm tone. "What is the situation with her? What has occurred?" "Mr. Maddox, your wife was involved in a car accident last night. She has been admitted to our intensive care unit." Griffin experienced a blend of emotions: concern, disbelief, and a persistent anger. "Did a car accident occur? Is she really? Is she all right?" The nurse explained that she is stable, yet in serious condition. She is presently in a medically induced coma to assist with the swelling in her brain. Griffin's thoughts spun in a whirlwind. Did a car accident occur? A coma? Was Livia being honest about her muddled recollections? "I'll be there shortly," he stated in a measured tone. In the hospital, Griffin walked back and forth in the waiting room. His emotions were a chaotic blend of worry, anger, and confusion. A doctor approached him, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Maddox?" the physician inquired. Griffin acknowledged with a nod. "How is she doing?" The doctor's demeanor was serious. Your wife is in a stable condition, though it remains serious. She sustained a serious head injury in the accident. We have placed her in a coma to assist in controlling the swelling in her brain. Is her recovery possible? Griffin inquired with a neutral tone. The doctor responded that it is too early to say for certain. Head injuries can be quite unpredictable. We will have more information once we bring her out of the coma in a few days. Griffin nodded, his expression serene. I understand. May I join her? The doctor guided him to Livia's room. Griffin's breath hitched in his throat at the sight of her. She appeared delicate and vulnerable in the hospital bed, with tubes and wires linking her to an array of machines. He remained at her bedside, gazing down at her motionless figure. One part of him felt compelled to reach for her hand, to provide solace, yet the recollection of her treachery restrained him. "Oh, Livia," he murmured, "what actions have you taken?" As he stood there observing the rhythmic rise and fall of Livia's chest, Griffin's thoughts surged with intensity. He recalled her bewildered visit, her firm assertion regarding an incident. Was she undergoing a sort of fugue state, or could this have been a cunning scheme to elicit his compassion? His phone vibrated, catching him off guard. Jessica sent a message. I heard about Livia. This does not alter any legal standings. Adhere to the strategy. Griffin gazed at the message, a feeling of determination washing over him. Jessica was correct. The tragedy of this accident did not diminish Livia's betrayal. He set the phone aside, redirecting his attention to Livia. In spite of all that had transpired and the hurt and treachery he had endured, a flicker of worry still lingered within him. They had experienced a decade of marriage and welcomed a child together, yet he reminded himself that Livia had discarded everything that once mattered. Days flowed by in a haze of hospital visits and anxious phone calls. Lilith remained with Griffin's parents, too young to grasp the full extent of the situation. Griffin divided his time among the hospital, his job, and looking after his daughter, fueled by coffee and unwavering resolve. Almost a week had passed when the doctor declared that they were prepared to awaken Livia from the coma. Griffin took a seat beside her bedside. His heart raced as he looked for any indication of awareness. Gradually, Livia's eyes began to open. She surveyed her surroundings, a look of confusion clear on her face. "Livia," Griffin said, his voice steady. "Can you hear me?" Livia looked at him, yet her eyes revealed no sign of recognition. "Oh, may I ask who you are?" she asked, her voice hoarse. Griffin experienced a blend of astonishment and incredulity. "I am Griffin, your spouse." Livia gently shook her head. "I can't recall. I can't remember. Where am I located? What occurred?" The doctor entered the room, providing a calm explanation regarding the accident and Livia's injuries. While he spoke, Griffin observed Livia's expression, looking for any indication of dishonesty, any suggestion that this was merely a performance. Yet there was only a sense of true bewilderment and apprehension. In the days that followed, it became evident that Livia's memory loss was considerable. She recalled nothing of her time with Griffin, nothing of Lilith, nothing of the relationship with Dante. It felt like the past 10 years had been erased entirely. Griffin discovered he was in a perplexing predicament. Livia's memory loss did not alter her actions, yet it complicated the divorce proceedings significantly. He sat in the hospital cafeteria, cradling a lukewarm cup of coffee, when he noticed a familiar face coming his way. Dante was the one. "What on earth are you doing here?" Griffin let out a low growl as he rose to his feet. Dante raised his hands in a calming gesture. "I learned about Livia's accident. I simply wanted to check if she was all right." Griffin's fists tightened at his sides. "Your audacity in appearing here after all that has transpired is quite remarkable." I understand, Dante said, his voice laden with remorse. "However, Griffin, you must trust me. The situation between Livia and me was an error. An unfortunate, regrettable error." Griffin let out a harsh laugh. "Is it an error? Do you really consider the destruction of my marriage and my family to be just a mistake?" Dante's shoulders drooped. "I understand that it doesn't alter the situation, but I sincerely apologize. With Livia's condition, I simply had to ensure she was okay." Griffin fixed his gaze on him for an extended moment, his anger simmering just beneath the surface. "She has no recollection of you, Dante. She has no recollection of any of us. Please do everyone a favor and leave." Please do not return. Please refrain from reaching out to her. Please allow us some space." Dante nodded slowly, his eyes brimming with sorrow. "I comprehend. I will go. However, Griffin, be cautious not to allow your anger to take control of you. Life is far too brief for such negativity." As Dante walked away, Griffin sensed his determination strengthen. He refused to allow Livia's condition to alter his plans. She had deceived him, regardless of her memory. He returned to Livia's room, stopping briefly in the doorway. She sat awake, gazing out the window with an expression of emptiness. "Livia," he stated, his voice even. She faced him, a gentle smile gracing her lips. "Is it, Griffin?" "The doctor informed me that you are my husband." Griffin nodded and positioned himself next to her bed. "Indeed. How do you feel?" Livia confessed her confusion. "Fearful. As I gaze into the mirror, a stranger stares back at me. The doctor informs us that we have a daughter, yet I find it hard to accept. I am unable to recall her." Griffin experienced a fleeting sense of sympathy, yet promptly stifled it. "Her name is Lilith. She is 7 years old. She possesses your eyes and my tenacity." Livia chuckled gently, then grimaced. "Can you share some information about her? Who are we? I wish to recall." Griffin paused for a moment, then spoke with a measured tone. "Livia, there's an important matter I must share with you. Prior to your accident, our marriage had already reached its end. You engaged in an extramarital relationship, I discovered. I was in the midst of initiating divorce proceedings." Livia's eyes opened wide in disbelief. "What is it?" "No, that doesn't seem correct." "I would not. I was unable to." "You did," Griffin stated with conviction. "I understand that you may not recall, but it did occur. Your memory loss does not alter that reality." Livia felt tears begin to gather in her eyes. "Griffin, I sincerely apologize. I don't recall engaging in those actions, but I apologize. Isn't it possible? Isn't it worth attempting to resolve our issues?" Griffin shook his head, his expression stern. "No, Livia, your actions are beyond my ability to forgive, whether there is memory or not." As he exited the hospital that day, Griffin experienced a blend of emotions: sadness, anger, and a resolute determination. He embraced Lilith warmly as he collected her from his parents' house. "Is Mommy on her way home?" Lilith inquired, her large eyes brimming with anticipation. Griffin shook his head, kneeling to meet his daughter's gaze. "Absolutely not, Princess. Mommy has made some significant errors, and she is unable to return home. I assure you, everything will be fine. We will get through this together." That evening, Griffin reached out to Jessica. "I want to move forward with the divorce," he stated decisively. Livia's condition does not alter her actions. Jessica's voice conveyed a sense of professionalism. "Are you certain, Griffin? Her memory loss might create complications." "I'm certain," Griffin responded. "Jessica, she has betrayed me. Our family was betrayed. I find it impossible to forgive that, regardless of whether she recalls it or not." As he ended the call, Griffin sensed a weight of conclusion enveloping him. The path before him would be challenging, yet he was resolute in his decision to advance, for himself and for Lilith. Livia had made her decision, and now they would all have to face the repercussions.